the guy took me out to eat after services and everything, and we were talking. He said, "Well, I hated our last pastor, had let him go." I said, "Well, I don't really enjoy going to a church that's going to just arbitrarily let their pastor go." He said, "Well, that's no." He said the guy was having sex with his daughter, both of them, the two daughters, and so here's the deal: just because a guy is working for God doesn't mean he's not out to sin.
It's just that's the only time I was being showed that, and after that, yeah, I was a kid.
I just went through a bunch of stuff in our church last Sunday. They all got one of the biggest Sundays we had in a long time. They all got together. They all they decided to come here.
I do.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate thing.
Not happy about it.
Now, that's something going in, or is that him having a good hand? You just want to clarify my imagination.
It's some decision that
Yeah.
Don't cut it down. Cut it off. All right. Hello. How is everybody? Time for group for those of us who are serious about our treatment. Everybody got a bulletin this morning. I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I do apologize for the bulletins not being in color. They really look a whole lot better when they're in color. And I told that machine in there to colorize them, and it didn't do it. So they next time they'll be in color. I hope. I thought I had it set up to colorize them correctly, but it didn't work. So anyway, apologize for that. You're supposed to be getting one once a week. You'll get one. You should be able to get one on Monday. One of the counselors will be making a bulletin every week. And it'll just show you what's going on down through the week. It has got some stuff. It's going to do some stuff on whatever the deal is for that day. There's a seat there.
Am I sitting there?
I don't know. Is there not a seat over there? Make some room. We got to get in. Got to get in the groove. So, and here's the other thing. Y'all make sure you fill out your sign-in sheet. I'm missing some sign-in sheets, but that's over at North for the 8th, I think it is. I don't have those sign-in sheets, so I'll be over there to try to get those today, so y'all could look those up. And up there on the sign-in sheet where it says what the group is, don't put my name in there because that's the title of the group. My name goes down below that at a point. So make sure you fill out that. Make sure it's on the right one and it's legible. Make sure you have your book this morning, and we're going to be on page 21 for a couple of seconds. Don't know how the group is going to go, but we'll take breaks when we take breaks and all of that kind of stuff. And I appreciate y'all getting on in group on time. We're going to take a break, and then I appreciate y'all coming back from break on time, being here. And y'all know you've been seeing that the groups, the breaks change a little bit, but I'll tell you when they are over and at that time. And if I messed it up like I did last week, y'all let me know. Wednesday, I'm not going to be here, so we're going to be doing something a little bit different this coming Wednesday. I am going for y'all know that I got a little procedure I'm going through on Wednesday, and hoping that's going to fix all of my little issues that's been going on with me here lately, and I can get back to where I need to be on all of this stuff. But not sure about if they find something and fix something. That'll be a great thing. But if they do, that will put me out for the rest of the week. But the group will be taken care of. So here's the deal. If you have your book on page 21, as I understand it, nowadays it has the number on here. So where's the book, Mr. Sam? Is that the book? You're not paying me any attention. Is that your book? All right, page 21. We're going to look at that real quickly, and then we're going to go from there. And I want to talk something. This week is about emotion. And if you looked at your bulletin at all, the bulletin has something to say about emotion. And y'all do, look, again, today and tomorrow I'm going to be doing group. But I'm asking you now to just bear with me a little bit, because the hospital is supposed to be calling me and setting up when I'm supposed to be. They don't tell you until right up to the last minute when you're going to be there. So if they call me today or tomorrow, I'll have to take that. And if they do, we'll take an impromptu break at that point in time so that we can go poison our systems with carbon monoxide and rat poison. Right? That's what's in cigarettes: carbon monoxide, rat poison, stuff like that. Just really good stuff. So nicotine's not bad for you unless you take a whole bunch of it. That's just what keeps you addicted to it. So we're not going to be talking about how you really should quit smoking and all of that kind of stuff until I probably get back from this and we're on the physical part of this the next time around. We'll be talking about don't quit smoking, but not this time around. So right now we're talking about emotions, all of that stuff. One of the things that I want us to get a hold of, really, look, I've talked to so many people down through the years. Is what I do for a living. I'm a pastor and I'm a counselor and all of that stuff. And so, I talk to people all of the time, and I've had so many people tell me that they had no emotions. You know how goofy that is? We're all emotional beings, right? We all operate on emotions. Each and every one of us here today has an emotion that we're going through right now, right at this point in time. We have an emotional response to stuff. That's just normal. So when you get a little angry about something, you get your feelings hurt a little bit about something, you're sad a little bit about something, that's not abnormal. That's the way that's supposed to be. God put that in us so that we would have that for our own protection. And so we don't need to be flipped out about having some emotions. Now, I don't want you falling over in the floor and crying, snotting, and all of that stuff, but we are emotional beings. So we need to know something about emotions. So the very first thing, if you have your book, on page 21 on the second set here. It's kind of, I don't know what that color is. What is that color?
Kind of peachy page.
What is it? Peach color. All right, so we're going to be talking about emotional health. The first one is denial or avoidance. Usually when we're we're just fresh in recovery, we're going to deny or try to avoid the fact that we have emotions because, look, we've been pushing down our emotions with our drugs. That was our greatest big coping skill. My coping skill was vodka and marijuana. Whatever I needed to push that emotion down, I pushed that emotion down. If I was angry, hurt, embarrassed, whatever it was, I would push that emotion down by using that drug. So we don't need to do. You have a book? Where's your book? All right, we're on page 21. Yeah, page 21. There you go. On the one that looks a little peachy looking. So, the very first time, look, a lot of the times we get into this when we first get into recovery is when while you have been told or have some self-realization that emotional health or your emotional health is suffering, you have not taken any steps to address the concerns or make improvement. Or possibly you've denied the possibility that you even have any issues in that area. What's that called? When I'm denying that I have any issues in that area? Denial. Yeah, we do that with our drugs a lot. The biggest problem when I first got into this stuff a long time ago, I got into this stuff. The director of the program out at the prison called me to his office and said, "I'm going to tell you something, Doc. We got you out here, first off, we got you out here as a counselor, not as a preacher." So, okay, I can dig that. He said, "What do you think the biggest problem we have out here is?" So what do you think, Mr. Sims, in treatment, what's the biggest problem that we have? Denial. Absolutely, denial. Drugs are a problem, alcohol's a problem, lifestyle is a problem, refusal to believe that old people, places, and things are going to kick us in our buttocks is a problem. All those are problems, but the biggest problem is denial. I don't have a problem. I've had so many people down through the years tell me that I can quit anytime I want to. Yeah, I knew that and I could do that and I did do that 300 times, right? We can quit anytime we want to. Our big deal is staying quit. Right?
That's the big deal.
That's the big deal. If I can just stay off the junk, I'll be all right. Just like me, I'm a diabetic. Y'all know all of that. I'm addicted to sugar, and I rebuke that in the name of the Lord Jesus. I'm not addicted to anything, but that same thing. If I go eat a piece of sugar right now, if I went out there and had a cookie, I'd want to have 400,212 cookies. You know why we keep drinking alcohol? Because there's more alcohol.
Right.
It's still there. It hasn't dried up. It's not going away. So as long as there's alcohol and drugs existent, we're going to use them. Right? So we need to take a look at that. Now, what we're going to look at today is our emotional health. This week is about emotional health. I'm going to talk to Miss Charnell and Miss Casey tomorrow at our huddle. Let them know that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we want something up here on emotional health that you guys can be looking at. There's one movie I want you to see, and it doesn't really have anything to do with emotional health, but I want you to see the movie Drunk in Public. Anybody ever seen Drunk in Public? It's a very old movie. It's a good treatment movie. It goes through a guy's whole life. It chronicles his whole life of using drugs and alcohol. And he goes from he was a vodka guy. He drank a lot of vodka. But it goes from It's an hour and a half long movie, and it shows from when all of this stuff. And he finally died, but it wasn't from the use of alcohol. But I just want y'all to see that movie. It just shows you what that alcohol can do to your body, and it's an amazing thing. So we're going to be talking about our emotional health a little bit today. We're also going to be talking about the two ICs. Y'all know what the two ICs are? Now, I know y'all can't see this over at North very well. But this is a really good rendition of a guy with a big red, looks like maybe an arrow going through his brain, and a square thing that says I see, and a round thing that's much smaller in the middle of that says I see. So we're going to be taking a look at all three of these types of things. He's looking pretty sad. So one of the things we want to look at real quickly this morning is emotional myths. What do we think about emotions that are not true?
Emotions mean you're weak.
Emotions mean you're weak. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Because you are an emotional creature, an emotional man or emotional woman, that makes you weak. Is that true? Absolutely not. That's a myth. Without the emotions, you probably wouldn't be here. So, we have these emotions and we need these emotions. So here's one of the things. One of the things we need to know about emotions is that emotions are neither good or bad. One of the myths about it is emotions are either good or bad. Emotions are not good or bad. Sometimes we do some bad stuff in the midst of emotions, right? Sometimes when we get angry, which is a secondary emotion, you have to choose to get angry. Remember that. I have so many people in my anger group come up and tell me, I can't help it. Yes, you can. I just can't help it. I go off, man. Somebody says something. Somebody say the word blue. You say blue, man. I'm gone. I go crazy and I kill people. But that ain't my fault. Yes, it is. You did that because you wanted to do that. And so we'll be talking about that at some time. But emotions are not good or bad. They're just emotions. Although some emotions are uncomfortable. How many people have ever been ashamed? Oh, goodness, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And I will tell you, that's an uncomfortable emotion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, when I looked at that emotion and that emotion was flooding over me, I felt that emotion was bad. I named that emotion as being bad. That was a bad emotion. And then when I was growing up, my dad was one of those angry men. Not only was he angry, he was brilliant, but then stupid at the same time. Because he get angry and do stupid stuff. And so that's a moniker I put on anger. Anger also was bad. And then as I grew up, I started to operate in some of those emotions the same way that people that I knew and were in my life, I started to operate in those emotions the same way they were. And so I looked at myself as being what? Bad. Because I had those emotions.
Right. That's a normal feeling.
It is a normal feeling. When you do something that you shouldn't do, should you feel ashamed?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I feel ashamed. Still, look, I'm 72 years old, and I've been, and sometimes when some beautiful young lady walks past or something, there's that, and that can cause shame to come up.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. That's disrespectful. I don't want to be disrespectful to other people. So, I'm going, okay, that's disrespectful. So, I don't want to do that. So that shame comes up on me. And then there are things, look, I know you guys think I'm fair to middling perfect, but, there's a couple things. There's some things out there, and I do know that I have to allow myself to become angry. I can't just get angry because of, but I have to, and there are some things out there that I will allow to cause me to allow myself to get angry. If I see some of this stuff that I just don't believe that it's right. I don't like that injustice when I don't like to see people hungry.
Right.
You know, and so sometimes when you see hungry kids, when there are kids who are, kids always hungry, but when you see a kid who's really seriously in abject poverty and hungry, I want to know where his daddy is.
Right.
Where's your daddy? I mean, there's no reason for you to be. So I will allow myself to get a little angry at that guy. Any guy that can make a kid ought to be able to feed a kid.
Right.
That's just me. No, that ought to be everybody.
That's
Don't you make that kid, you ain't gonna feed that kid.
Right.
Yeah. You ain't a daddy.
No, I haven't been one.
I can totally believe that.
That's where the shame comes in.
I'm sorry.
That's where the shame comes in.
Yeah. God looked down and said, well, he ought not be one. We don't want that. We don't
That's
want
my deflex.
So look, some of them make you uncomfortable. They still play a vital role in our life. For example, fear. How many people like to be afraid? I don't like being. I don't like being afraid. You like being
in a controlled situation.
in a controlled circumstance. I see people that get on those things that shoot you out, stuff like that, and they pass out. Man, you that scared, you can't even enjoy the ride. That don't make any sense at all. I'm not doing that. Not doing that. I'm not going to do that. No, I don't. Sometimes, but fear is a normal emotion. It's there to help us because fear can alert you to danger.
Yeah,
it can alert you to danger. That's why God put it in there. Guilt reminds us that we've gone against our own values. I have some really, I have some values that are set in stone. These are my values. I'm kind of funny about money. I don't want your money. I want my money.
Yes.
When I work up here, but I've been out a whole lot. I try to work from home when I'm not up here. And, when I'm not doing that, I let my bosses know that, hey, don't pay me. I haven't told them that yet, but I'm considering it. But, I don't want to get paid for something I don't do. When I do, I want, and I don't want your money. If I saw a show the other day where a policeman was going through a closet at the place where they were going to arrest a person, and they found a whole big wad of money. And he looked at that stuff and immediately turned it over to his superior. And I'm thinking, man, that's the kind of guy to be. Most people would look at that and say, hey.
Keep it. You know why? Because it's a bad thing.
Yeah, this guy's dead.
Yeah,
I mean, he's dead.
He don't need it.
Yeah, he don't need it. Yeah. So, but that would be, keeping it would be going against my values. I have found billfolds full of money and made sure they got it back and all that kind of stuff because, that's one of my values.
Yeah.
If I lose something, I would love you to bring it back to me if it's money. Yeah. So anger motivates us to stand up for ourselves. Anger can be motivating to stand up. You can stand up for yourself and you can do and a lot of the times, a righteous anger, the Bible talks to us about a righteous anger. You can stand up for other people.
Yeah.
That's a righteous anger. It also, though, says don't let that anger stay with you until the sun goes down. So if I'm mad at Mr. Sims, which I quite often am, a little upset with him, I need to make that right before I go home from work. I don't need to go sleeping on it. I need to talk about it, get it dealt with before I go to bed.
Right.
Because it says don't let the sun go down on your anger. So those things, it is a normal thing. They're not good. They're not bad. They are just there. Sometimes what we do with them is bad.
Right.
And sometimes what we do with them is good. So we need to understand the difference. It's not the emotion itself. It's our actions because of the emotions. See, there's a right way. Here's a myth. This is a myth. There's a right way to feel. That sounds like a myth. That sounds to me to be the truth.
Yeah.
There ought to be a right way for me to feel about any situation, but that's a myth because every situation is different.
Right.
And every time the situation comes up, I might be in a different place.
Right.
You know, I'm going to tell you what, when I feel well, I do well.
Right.
I'm not feeling all that well right now, and so I'm making no decisions about anything.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to eat. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do this, that, but I'm not going to make any life decisions. I'm not going to sell my car. I'm not going to paint my house. I'm not going to quit my job. I'm not going to do any of those things because I don't feel well.
Right.
And if you don't feel well, you're not where you ought to be with your mental capacity, right? You might do some stuff that you shouldn't do because you just don't feel well. So, you know, if our emotions don't line up with our expectations, then we can feel confused or we get a little bit frustrated. You know, sometimes that happens to me. Because sometimes my emotions don't line up with my expectations, or my expectations will cause emotions. You know, so I came to work for Manor a little over a year ago now, and when I came, I had an expectation. And they fed into that expectation. They said, "Yeah, this is what's going to happen." I said, "Okay." So 6 months later, that's not going to happen. Okay. So my expectations caused me to have some emotions at that moment in time. So I was able, though, to readjust my expectations. And so once I did that, it was a little bit better, but still my emotions were, my expectations moved my emotions around just a little bit. So we can feel confused or frustrated, and I was both of them for a few minutes. But the truth is that no two people have identical emotional responses. Look, here's the deal. We are fearfully, wonderfully made, but we are different. Did you know you have your fingerprints are not like anybody else's in the world? That's how they can get your fingerprints and tell who you are.
Right.
Did you know that they can do the same thing with an eye scan?
I'm sorry.
You ready? As soon as you're ready, they can do the same thing with an eye scan because why?
Ain't nobody got eyes. Right?
Nobody's eyes are exactly the
Right.
same.
Right.
That's an amazing thing if you think about it.
Right.
That tells you that there is intelligent design because no eye is exactly the same as anybody else's eye. You know what else? Your heartbeat is completely different, completely unique than anybody else's. There's no one on the face of the earth whose heartbeat rhythm is just like yours. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
No, that's God. That's fearfully and wonderfully made. So, are you asking a question or having a hard time?
I didn't comment. I don't say.
Oh, well, add on to what I'm saying.
Your dental record as well.
Just say
Your dental record as well.
your dental record, yeah, your teeth are the same. Yeah, I mean, they're not the same. If emotions don't line up with those expectations, the truth is that no two people have the same emotional responses, even in the same situation. Even in the same situation. You can get two people, and one of them gets shot, and that's it for him. He's never going, or she's never going to go back into that situation. When they get out of there, they're emotionally crippled and they're not going. Men on the battlefield, women on the battlefield. They get shot, that's it for them, right? I mean, they never going back. They're emotionally crippled from that time. Somebody tried to kill them. The pain was intense. It took them a while to get beyond that. I'm going to a memorial on Saturday if I get through the procedure well and all of that. I'm up to it. I'm going to a memorial on Saturday for a United States Marine who was an E7 in the Marine Corps, a Sergeant First Class, and he was wounded 7 times. He went back into combat after being hit 7 different times. It's an amazing situation. So different people are different.
Right.
You know, if you shoot me, I don't think I want a second dose.
No.
That was enough. I like it, but that's all I need. You know?
I believe you.
Yeah. I think you don't look. There people trying to kill me.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people
Doing what?
the purpose behind why you got shot.
Yeah, and you know, the whole purpose was they want to kill me.
You're in the service, though.
Yeah.
Your job is to protect us.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna go back in.
Absolutely. Yeah, and some people are like that. Some people are not.
I mean, police
There's
officers,
some
everybody.
people, they do that. There's some people on the battlefield, when they get hit, they're done for. And there's other people, when they get hit, they're going in for a second dose. You know, and so that guy did it 7 different times. So I'm going, wow, that's a. And he showed me all of the. Y'all know what you get in the military for
Purple Heart.
Purple Heart. He showed me all of his Purple Hearts. Once you get 2 of them, they change colors. The metal on the bottom of them change colors, and his changed colors and changed colors. And the last one was an amazing thing, you know. I said, why don't you go get another one, you know? And he didn't want to do that. So you're not going to have the same situation, the same response even to the same situation. So given that, it's impossible to define the right way to feel. How should I feel about that? Well, that's up to you individually. That's up to what you feel, your own personal makeup. It's up to you. It's up to me how I'm going to feel about that. When somebody comes up and says something nasty and dirty and all of that kind of stuff to you, how you feel about that? Well, you're going to feel about it different than I'm going to feel. Yeah, you know, because we're different people.
Right.
Yeah, you know, we're different. We may both get incensed about it. We may both get offended, but we're going to be offended on different levels and different ways. Yeah, so we're different. How you try to force yourself, and this is what's bad about this. Sometimes is people tell us this is how you're supposed to feel about that. This is one of the things. We're not supposed to let anybody else tell us how we're supposed to feel. You know, we can have some people tell us how those feelings can be dealt with, how they can be used in more constructive ways, all of those kind of stuff. But you can't tell me how to feel about it. Yeah, you know, you can't tell me how to do that. Had a lady and her husband, and she's telling the husband, you can't get angry about that.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, watch me. Yeah,
Oh, you.
I'm finna choose to get angry on your butt. Yeah, you know. So yes, so why on earth would you try to force yourself to feel a certain way just because somebody says that's the way you ought to feel? It might be the way I ought to feel as you see it, but I'm going to tell you how I feel as I see it. So, another myth is talking about emotions is useless. What we do is talk therapy. Right. We don't give any medications. I know a lot of people here are use medications and stuff like that because it's necessary for some of us. And, I take medications every day, and it's necessary. However, the therapist and the counselors here in this facility, we don't prescribe and can't by law prescribe or recommend or any of that kind of stuff, medication. What we do is talk therapy. And so if it's useless to talk about emotions, then we have nothing in our hamper to give you. But that's not true. So, the fact is that the benefit of talking about our emotions goes far beyond just the problem-solving portion of it. Talking about emotions helps us to make sense of what we're feeling about what we're feeling, and all of that. This alone can make things more manageable and even lead to new perspectives if I know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. So the only way that I'm going to do that, I've told you a bunch of times to think about what we're thinking about, but we need to also know what we're feeling about as well. Right. There's everybody knows their IQ, right? We also need to know our EQ. What is IQ? Intelligence quotient. What is our EQ? Emotional quotient. Yeah, we need to know. We need to know the both of those numbers. So this alone can make it more manageable, get us some new perspectives on the stuff. We can recall a time when talking about our feelings made them more workable. I can, I do know that I've had this feeling, and I was able to talk to some people, talk to a particular person, and that feeling was better understood when that was all over. The biggest question somebody asked me when I delineated everything that I was feeling was, why? What? Why do you feel that way? Well, that's just the way I feel. Well, okay. Well, why do you feel the way that you feel? What caused you to feel the way that you feel? What caused you to feel that way? What's making you feel less than? What's making you feel like you don't measure up to all those other people? Why is that? And then once you figure that out, go, okay, what do I need to do? I need to strengthen in the area that I feel weak in, perhaps, or I need to say, well, that doesn't make me that much difference after all. I don't care what they think about that. And so that helps. So talking about it is probably one of the best things you can do. Here's the deal. If you have something in your life that's doing you some dirt and you don't talk about it, what's going to happen?
It's going to keep getting higher. It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get deeper. It's going to get harder to deal with. All of those things. So talking about it is not useless. Here's another myth. Others will think less of me if I show emotion. Yeah, we think it's a weakness. And I will tell you this, some people will poo-poo you if you do that, right?
Yeah.
They will. And I will tell you this, that's not my problem, that's your problem.
Right.
It is. So.
That's why you have to be careful what sponsor you pick.
Yeah, you need to, absolutely. You need to make sure that you pick the right sponsor because you don't want somebody that's going to make fun of you or think badly of you or anything like that.
Says a lot about them too.
Say it again?
It says a lot about where they're at.
Oh, it does say a lot about where they are.
Matter of fact,
yeah, I heard a story that was true, I suppose, or was told to be true, where a guy had a sponsor and the guy took him out fishing, which was great. So they went out fishing. Once they got out there pretty far, the sponsor opened up his cooler. It was full of beer. The guy said, wait a minute. I thought you were in recovery. I can't drink beer. He said, oh, man, my drug is cocaine, so I can drink. What? Yeah, the best thing to happen at that time is throw that sponsor overboard. Now, not literally, not out there in the where he drowned, but you know what I'm talking about. You get rid of him. He ain't no good for nothing. So showing emotions can be intimidating.
right.
Now, it can be intimidating to who? Me and you.
Yeah.
It can be intimidating to both of us.
I have that problem.
Yeah, you do. That and others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch. Yeah, all over the place. Yeah.
Right.
Bags and bags. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just need to be careful. We don't need to be, look, here's the thing. It can be intimidating. I can intimidate myself, and I can intimidate other people because emotions are what? Emotions. And they can do some. We're not used to those things coming out right there in front of everybody.
Right.
When people get angry, that's an emotion that's intimidating, isn't it?
Right.
Right. It can be intimidating. And what's the one emotion that men usually use?
Anger.
Anger.
Yeah.
And what's the emotion that women usually use?
Tears.
What is it?
Feelings.
Emotions.
Sadness,
Yeah.
crying.
They use anger a lot. Women use anger a lot as well.
Right.
So we're going to use. We express it in different ways.
Right.
But what's the, since the anger is a secondary emotion, what's the driving emotion for anger most of the time?
Frustration.
Frustration is the second cousin to the
They
drive.
got cousins?
Yeah.
It's a family.
Fear.
Fear.
Fear. With guys is fear. It's almost always fear. So if you know somebody who is chronically angry, they're angry all the time, they're scared to death.
Right.
They are fearful of everything and everybody around them. They're trying to push away the world. They're trying to push away other guys. They're trying to push away women folk. They're trying to push away the whole world. So they're just scared to death.
The strongest mentality syndrome.
The strongest.
Like it's like weakness. So I have to be the strongest.
Mm-hmm. I have to be the big guy. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
So,
what it is.
so what is it with women? What's the one driving emotion for women that causes them to react in anger?
Hurt feelings.
Hurt feelings,
Not understood.
not understood. No, fear of abandonment.
Right.
So both of those basic primary emotions that cause us to operate mostly in anger are fear. So we're afraid that, ladies are afraid they're going to be abandoned. Men are afraid they're just scared. They're afraid. So, if we can deal with that, talk about somebody not scared at all, so it's sleeping in group. Got a security hat on, sleeping in the group. There you go. Say, your eyes come open and thing. Yeah. Where am I? This got to be a dream. All right, so here's the deal. Somebody look. Showing emotions can be intimidating, but here it is. It's also a relationship superpower. You need to understand that it's a relationship superpower. When you're open about your feelings, others see you as authentic and relatable. That makes you more likely to have healthy and fulfilling relationships. As a pastor, when couples come to me that are breaking up, what's the first thing that the girl says to me?
I feel.
What is it?
I feel.
I feel. No, usually.
I'm asking you.
What she says usually is, he don't talk to me.
Right.
What the guy usually says is, how much this gonna cost?
Right.
But no, he'll get defensive and start talking about, yes, I do. I talk to her all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to her all the time. So we talked about this 2 or 3 times, but how often, how much time is spent in conversation with a normal couple over a 7-day period of time? How much time do they spend talking to one another?
Probably 10 hours.
10 hours, 10 hours. Anybody else want another? He said they talk about 10 hours. How many hours in a week? 162?
Yeah.
160, is it 2 or 168? So you said 8 hours out of 168 hours?
Yeah.
Anybody got another guess? Statistics, which I am not a fan of, but statistics show that as couples, we talk to one another over a 7-day period, about 15 minutes. 15 minutes. We don't say much of anything to each other. Once we get somebody captured, we got them in the relationship, we set them down and shut them up. We'll talk to them. We don't want to talk to you. And look, we need to be open and we need to be honest and we need to be communicative. We need to talk. There's some guys in here that don't know how to relate to each other, and they certainly don't know how to relate to the opposite sex. Women are crazy. Yeah. No.
So you said 15 minutes in a week?
15 minutes in a 7-day period of time. Yeah.
7 days.
Think about it. 7-day period of time, 1 week, we talk to a couple talks to each other about 15 minutes. Now, look, when you first get together, that's probably more than that. This is a seasoned group. This is a seasoned couple. Some that's been together for a while. My wife and I, we can go home and sit on we've got a little love seat type of thing that comes up like that when we want to. Each one have, our own thing. And we can sit there and watch television from 5 o'clock in the evening to 10 o'clock at night, never say a word. And that happens from time to time. Now, there are times we realize that, we know that. There are times we force that. We cut the television off and my wife and I would talk. So we do a little bit of communication.
That's why it's good to take vacation.
We used to do that. We used to do that every morning. She would get up with me and we would have a little time together. She doesn't do that anymore because I get up at 4 in the morning and she gets up, whenever she gets up. But, so we don't have, taking a little bit out of it. We don't do a whole lot about that. But if we were opening up our emotions and our feelings and talking to our partners, then I will tell you that we would be talking and communicating more than 15 minutes in a 7-day period of time. And of course, y'all know that it's different for every couple, right?
Yeah.
It's different for every couple. There are couples out there that just talk a lot, and there are couples out there that don't talk at all. Yeah, so at 15 minutes, if you're talking to your spouse and you get up to 15 minutes, God just doesn't cut it off, and that's 15 minutes. Yes.
So when you say like once you get it, it's a prize to me. Is that real love?
Oh yeah, I'm going to tell you this. I do believe that if you're really if you've been around somebody and you know somebody, you can communicate pretty well without saying a word.
Right.
You can communicate well. But my wife and I have been married for 52 years. I guarantee you that woman can snap the whip without even saying a word.
Just look at you.
Say it again. Just look at you or something like, wait, what was all that?
Life, okay, when you're in a relationship and you're going through life, there's so much that happens in life,
Yeah.
And if you say that you're not, like in one of those 5,
Right.
It doesn't happen that way. You got to communicate that whole lifestyle.
Yeah. And see, this is the guy with no children. Just so
I got a girl.
you got a girl. I thought you said you didn't have one.
But after 50 years, Doc.
Say it again.
After 50 years, you can talk so much.
Well, that's true. But after 52 years, also, you know that you have to do that.
Right.
Communication is actually key.
Like
You cannot not talk and expect that person to want to be around you.
Right.
So you need to do that. So when do you think it's the most challenging to be honest with people about your feelings? When do you think it might be the most challenging to be honest with people about your feelings?
Probably something related to fear.
Say it again.
Probably something related to fear, like fear.
Related to fear, something like that.
Serious stuff. Being judged.
Sometimes you think you're going to lose something. If you show your emotions to the person you're trying to have a relationship with, you might lose that relationship or something like that. Those can be challenging times. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you how I feel anyway. I'm going to tell you how I feel. If you don't want to be in a relationship with me after you know how I feel, then I'm okay. That's probably a good idea. Yeah, probably a good idea. Now, look, I'm not a proponent of going from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship. I'm not a proponent of that. I think you ought to find that one person that rings your bells and all of that stuff, and stay with that person the rest of your life. That's what that's what I believe. However, in order to do that, I know that you have to communicate and all of that kind of stuff. The other thing is that I know couples who are in the throes of one or the other being, beaten on. I don't go for that either. Family violence. We don't do that. We don't do that. So, um, if I feel too much, this is a myth, I might lose control. Well, that's not true. If I feel too much, and here's the deal, we do feel. We are feeling beings. We do feel. We sometimes push them down. We use alcohol and drugs to push them down. We push them down and try to hold them down, and sometimes they explode, stuff like that. And we don't want to have that to happen, but if I feel and if I let that feeling be known, let that come out. If you hurt my feelings, I'll tell you. Now, I hadn't had a lot of people hurt my feelings, but if you hurt my feelings, most of the time, if somebody hurts your feelings, how do we respond? In anger. We get angry. We get angry. We choose to let my hurt feelings morph over into anger, and then, all kinds of stuff can go crazy. But if you hurt my feelings, I'm going to just come tell you, dude, you hurt my feelings, man. You didn't have any business telling me that. Don't say that kind of stuff to me. Look, I know my dog was ugly already. I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to tell me all of that. So, but that hurt my feelings. I love my dog. So many are afraid that if they allow themselves to feel a difficult emotion, even if just for a second, get that thing they're going to lose control. That's not true. But refusing to feel an emotion actually gives it more power than when we go ahead and let ourselves feel it and then work through it. I've had to tell people back in the day, look, I'm going to go to my office. I'm going to go sit in my office for a while. I prefer just y'all leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I'm fine. I'm okay. I just need you to leave me alone. And if somebody pushes it, yes, what you just said hurt my feelings, and I have to go and talk to my higher power about it. Because my feelings are hurt, and I don't want that to morph into anything it doesn't need to be. So I'm going to go sit down and pray about it, think about it, all of that kind of. Because no matter what you did, I still love you. I love you in the Lord. I may not like you a lot, but He never said I had to like you. But I love you in the Lord. So I have to have that. I have to do that. So I can't be angry, nasty, and ugly at you if I'm going to love you. So I'm going to go in my office and sit around there, think about that, maybe drink some more of this rot gut coffee that this lady gave me. She brought it in, put a little sign on it. It said, Happy New Year. And then she came in a couple of days later and said it was still sitting there. She said, You don't drink coffee? I said, Yeah, I drink coffee. Well, I brought you some coffee. So I'm thinking I hurt her feelings because I'm not drinking her coffee. But now, the very first opportunity that I get, I'm going to hurt her feelings again. I'm going to go tell her that is the worst coffee. That's some nasty rotten gut found swept up off of the floor after they were making the Folgers, put it in, people have walked in it and peed in it, whatever. It's bad. All right? You okay back there? Yeah. All right. So, but holding it there, it gives it more power unless we let ourselves feel it, let it go. So, what do you think the biggest emotion that we're afraid to feel? Weak, fear. For guys, it's fear. We don't, one of the thinking errors. If you've ever been to TC. One of the thinking errors we talked about a lot was fear of fear. I'm just afraid to be afraid. Fear. I'm going to guarantee you, when I walked into prison, it was like this right here. I ain't got nobody out here that I'm scared of. And that's That's pretty much how you had to do it.
Right.
Y'all been there. Well, maybe you haven't. Some of y'all been there. You know what I'm talking about. When you go, you got to go in there and be the biggest, baddest, meanest. Yes,
Even national leaders said things to this effect. Nothing to fear but fear itself.
Yeah. But we do fear being. We don't want that emotion. We're not going to let that emotion do. We're going to instead come across as angry, because anger pushes people off, and fear will draw people to you.
That's fair.
Because when somebody thinks that you're afraid of them,
I got this. Control.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right. Pretty quick. Here's a myth. This is a myth. I should be happy all the time. That's not true, is it? No.
Awesome.
No.
I'm happy.
I'm not too worried about happy. I'm more concerned about being joyful. I'm filled with joy because of what God has done in my life. I'm a joyful person. Happiness is when somebody comes up and puts $100 bill in your hand. I went and preached at a little church one time, and I came out of there. They always pay you a little nothing, and then you're leaving. And a fella came out and said, "Man, I appreciate all that." And he would shake my hand, and when he did, he left a $100 bill in my hand. I said, "Man." So that was happy. I was happy, and I was standing there looking at that $100 bill, and my wife reached over and got it, put it in her purse. So there goes all the happy. So happy can go away just like that, but joy is abiding.
Right.
Joy stays with you. No matter what happens, I can be joyful. Right? Yes, sir.
Have you ever heard the acronym on joy?
Say it again.
Have you ever heard the acronym on joy?
No.
Jesus first, others second, you last.
Oh yeah, that's true, and that's exactly what he said do. So that's good stuff. Happiness is great, but it is not love. Happiness is great, but it is not the norm. We're not normally happy. Even if social media posts create that illusion for us, by seeing happiness as an occasional gift rather than a guarantee, we can savor it more fully and not blame ourselves when we don't feel that way. We are not always. I hadn't been all that happy in the last month. I still have the joy of Jesus in my life, and that's a fantastic thing. But because of the pain in my stomach and the way that I feel and all of that, I'm not all that happy. So thank God they're two different things. I don't have to be happy to be joyful.
Usually when somebody's happy all the time, you're nice.
Somebody's happy all the time, they have issues. Yeah. So.
Just get away from that.
Just hurt your feet. I understand. So look, we'll go ahead and take our break. Let's get back about 15 minutes after, and we'll get started.
Then we're not going to talk about it. But you're going to do it. Okay? Walk away. It's very good. Too bad. Let me know. Yeah. Better get you. No. Hey, you. What's up, man? No. Careful. Excuse me. What is this? This is mustard? That's it. Looks like a diaper slipper dust. What are we doing? Oh man. Alright. Yeah. I think that was a one. Yeah. Okay. Sure. CPR. Mouth. That's all for body. That's true. I got it. Oh. I have one to give one to. Yes, he is. You got me a little bit. Oh, we got all that. I thought you did. Damn. This is like that.
Go. Hey, there we go. Go ahead.
Group time. All right, we got a few more of these to go over. Don't have a whole lot of them, but we're gonna get so we talked about we're not supposed to be happy all the time. And another myth is that emotions are inferior to logic. Thank you guys for coming back to group. If you don't get back to group on time, you can't get written up. You can't get an incident report written because we're supposed to be in group on time. So we talk about that all the time. The reason we're supposed to be in group in time, we're practicing for when we get out of here. We have obligations, and so we have an obligation to be in group on time, to begin group and after every break. We may quit a little bit early, but thank you anyway. So emotions are inferior to logic. So would it be better if we were all like Mr. Spock?
Star Trek. Hey, no, not there was
I know about Stargate SU-1.
Yeah, you missed him on that.
Oh, much inferior movie, Stargate.
Yeah, you missed him on that one.
All right, so anyway, for a balanced perspective, we need to have both of them. One is not superior to the other. We don't need to work on or operate in logic all the time. We need to have logic. We need to be logical. We need to have logic in what we do in our lives and all of that kind of stuff. If not, well, we're going to fall off a big old hole and disappear somewhere. But we also need to have emotions. Because you look what Spock, no emotions, right? So when they had a mess up in the core of the Enterprise there,
Right.
he goes off into all of the bad stuff. It's going to kill you, the radiation and all of that kind of stuff. Fixed it and then
All of it.
croaked over there, and he said, it's better for one to die.
Everybody.
And he's right about that. That's logical, but it cost him his life.
Right.
And, so me, I'm going to sit on the other side of the ship and say, when that thing blows up, I'm going to try to jump in the potty here because it's got a smaller spot.
Right.
And hopefully nobody will, not everybody will die. Yes, sir?
I was just wondering, now that you say that, is that kind of like the saying of never let your emotions override your intelligence?
Well, we're not supposed to have our emotions override our intelligence. See, we're not supposed to do that. But we do need to have both of them. And that's where we're going to next. If we let our emotions be in control all the time, then we're going to do everything emotionally, and usually that's not going to work out well for us, right? It's not going to do it. So we don't need to be either logical or emotional. We need to be emotionally logical.
Right,
we need to have both of them. Right. So this tells us, look, for a balanced perspective, we need both emotion and logic. Logic is great for solving problems or thinking through options. But only emotions tell us what we actually want and what we really care about. My emotions tell me that I want to be with that person. My emotions tell me I want to do that. My emotions lead me to make those type of decisions. So, emotions are not inferior to logic. Logic is not inferior to emotions. They complement one another.
Right.
We have to have an equal portion of both of them. We have to be logical, but we also have to have the gift of emotions. Okay, so myth, I can always trust my feelings. That's a myth. Can you trust your feelings?
No.
You sometimes can. You may not always be able to trust your feelings. Sometimes your feelings can get you in a world of hurt, right?
Right.
So here's the deal. It's wise to pay attention to your feelings. It's wise to pay attention to your emotions. But we should be cautious about how we interpret how we feel. I want to look at are there people in your life that when they get into your life, you have an emotional response to that person being there?
Right.
I have an individual. He doesn't do it now because he's been stricken with Alzheimer's disease, and so he doesn't remember me. But back when he did remember me, I had complete and total, utter control in his life. You leaving? Great. Change mine again? Because I could show up. If I showed up, he would leave.
Right.
Because he was just angry with me. He was upset with me. So anger gives other people power in your life. If you're angry at me and I show up, you won't be there. He rode a motorcycle and my wife and I rode bikes, and we had a ride where we would go from Beaumont to Jasper and have lunch in Jasper and all of that stuff and come back. But you had to pay to do it and everything because we were riding for kids with brain tumors. And so we would ride we bought these little pins that went on our vest, and then you had to pay $20 per rider to go up there. So he came, he beat us over there. He and his wife, they both had bikes, and they had their pins on their on their vest and they had paid their $20 a piece. And then he saw myself and my wife drive up on our bikes and they got on theirs and drove off. Okay, I had power and authority over him. Wherever I showed up, he couldn't stay.
Right.
So, we have to watch our emotions. If I have an emotion and somebody shows up and it strikes an emotion in me, I need to figure out where that's coming from. And is that healthy? If I can't stay in this area, if that person's here, that's not a healthy emotion, is it? That's not healthy.
No.
That's not healthy. There's another emotion. If I have the emotion of fear that is directed towards somebody and they show up, I might also leave the area.
Right.
Because I'm afraid of that person, intimidated by that person. And so, I might leave because of that. So, sometimes we can't. It's wise to pay attention to our emotions, but we should be cautious about how we interpret what we feel. For example, if we feel strong jealousy, and I'm going to tell you, that's a real hard emotion. If you're really jealous of a person, there's a lot of fear there, there's a lot of anger there, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. So we need to be cautious about it. Feel real jealous about a person, you may leap to the conclusion that that person is cheating in the relationship despite having no actual evidence for that happening. Let that man in. Yes, you had a question, comment, nod, remark?
What you doing? I could be with you, and you could get angry at your wife. And if I don't watch my emotions, I'm gonna take what you feel and be angry at mine.
Well, and that's true, and I've heard that. That's a good point. I've heard that 100 times, and it's true. Anger breeds anger.
Right.
Anger will jump on you. If there's somebody that's angry, and you go and hang around with that person, that anger is going to morph over onto you. Because one of the things, what does anger come from usually? Fear. So when you're angry, the first thing I'm going to guarantee you, we got an angry person walk through that door. Every one of us is going to know where they are and what they're doing. Right? We're going to pay attention to that person. Why? Because my what's the word? Self-preservation takes over. I'm taking care of me, so the fight or flight syndrome takes over, and I'm going to watch you. I'm going to know if you're angry, because angry people can be dangerous.
Right.
Angry people can hurt people. Angry people do hurt people. But because of who I am in myself, I'm going to protect me, just like every one of us is in here is. And I'm going to know when that person walks in, somebody could get hurt. Right. It ain't going to be me. I'm going to prepare myself when that person comes in. So it's not a good thing for us to allow jealousy to take us to that place.
Right.
We need to be watching. We need to be cognizant of our own emotions. Right. I would say this, and look, if I am super duper jealous over that other person, I need to separate myself from that person for a period of time, because that's not healthy. Right. That's not healthy. Yeah, my wife is a very friendly lady. And she'll talk to people, and some of those people she talked to are other guys, And so we've been married this long now. If somebody wants to come take her away from me, I don't think that they're going to. But if it was that easy, it would have happened 40 years ago. But we can feel those jealous feelings, even if there's no evidence that that's happening. even if there's no chance of it ever happening. Even if that, even if we know in our knower that ain't gonna happen in this situation, we can still feel that jealousy, and that jealousy can still turn to anger, and it can look. We have a huge problem with spousal abuse in the United States of America. We have there's a whole bunch of that happening. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of ladies that are killed by the man who's supposed to love them.
Right.
And so there's also a bunch of men that are killed by the ladies who are supposed to love them. Right. So all of that stems from that jealousy turning to anger, turning to something that's not a good thing. So we can't always trust our feelings. We need to, what do we need to do? We can't trust our feelings. What do we need to do?
Practice self-control.
Practice self-control.
Use logic.
That's a good thing. See, like self-control, instead of just popping off and just talking off, you could raise your hand like he did and then answer the question. That's practicing. That's practicing self-control. That's true. And here's another thing that I think that I would want to do if I ever get, an inkling of an idea or something like that my wife might be, something I don't know. I'm going to be investigating things. I investigate my feelings.
Right.
If I feel like somebody is angry at me, I'm going to go and ask them. That's an investigation. Look, dude, you're mean mugging me. Why you mean mugging me? What does that mean? You're looking at me like you don't like me. You're looking at me like you're And I've done that in this group. I've waited till group was over, and I've talked to some guys as everybody's going out to have a I said, hey, dude, can I talk to you? And he come back, yeah. I said, well, look, you mad at me? What? Well, you're mean mugging me, man. You're looking at me like you want to beat me to death with a stick. Yes, sir.
Usually, if it's jealousy, they lie about it.
Yeah.
Because it's shameful.
Yeah, we feel a little bit safer about that. If we, he was saying if we're really jealous and everything, we're going to lie about it.
Yeah, somebody says, are you jealous of me? Of course not.
Oh, of course not.
Jealous of you?
Why on earth would I be
jealous of you?
Now, I have been jealous of my wife in the past, and I have told her that. And it's really weird. We were at a church one time. We go to this big old church for a convocation once a year, and there's this guy that she just thought he was the cat's meow. She thought he was pretty. He's probably 6'2", and he wore this. He was a pastor. He wore this long cowboy coat down to the ground, and he swaggered around, all that kind of stuff. And, and her tongue hang out like a real necktie, okay. So he came into the sanctuary of that church over there, and she went over and was talking to him, and he put his arm around her, and she's about, 2 feet, she's about 2 feet short. Put it on. I said, all right, I had enough of this, and I was kind of kidding. I went over there and I said, hey, dude, you flirting with my wife? I said, that's the proper response, big guy. It can happen, but you need to investigate that.
Right.
And I try to investigate any feeling that if you've hurt my feelings, I'm going to go talk to you. What do you mean? I'm going to do something like that. So I think it's a really good idea to investigate your feelings. But here's the deal. You have to investigate your feelings in a way that's not intimidating. You don't go poke your finger at somebody, what did you say about me? That's not investigation. Right. That's intimidation.
Yeah.
Still don't do that.
So
because you can get in a fight and all that kind of stuff, and that's not the goal. When I'm investigating my feelings, I'm wanting to find out why I feel this way.
Right.
I don't care how you feel. I do not care. That's you. Unless your feelings cause me some trouble. Then, we're going to talk about it. But I want to know why I feel. I want to know why I'm allowing myself to get angry. I want to know why what you said hurt my feelings. I want to know why that's happening. So I'm going to go and talk to you about that and see if I can investigate that a little bit. So I can't always trust my feelings, and that's the deal. 90% of the time, And that's a statistic which is usually just dragged out of the sky, and that's what that one was because they have nothing to back it up. But a bunch of the time, when you investigate the feelings, you can figure out that they are not based on any factual anything. You know, just a feeling can pop up.
Right.
And, you know, and people let feelings pop up and they do stupid stuff. So we need to make sure we're not doing that. Now, this is a myth. Y'all listen. This is a myth. It's a myth. What does that mean? It ain't true. It's not true. It's a myth. It's not true. Women are emotional and men are logical. Yes, sir?
Is that almost like saying men
It's
build off
almost true.
testosterone, women build off estrogen?
I didn't hear that because he's talking over here when somebody else is talking. And so
I was saying, is that like comparing men drive off testosterone, women drive off estrogen?
and that's true. However, I don't know that that's what this means. This is us trying to make see, that's a myth. That's not true. Women are emotional.
Right.
Women are emotional. Men are emotional as well.
We're emotional creatures.
Yeah. We're emotional creatures. We all have emotions. So, but men, see, we're always looking for a good excuse for bad behavior.
Yeah.
You know, so when we do things nasty, when we say things nasty, and when we treat the other gender in a way that we shouldn't do that, we want to figure out a good reason for. Well, they're just overly emotional. I only hit her in the head 4 times. It ain't like I was trying to hurt her. Yeah, you know. So we're looking for a good excuse for bad behavior. Women are emotional, but so are men. Men are logical. So are women. Women can be logical as well. Research show. Now listen, this is something we need to know because I know some of you guys in here. I know, and I know some of you ladies need to hear this. Research, and I do believe in research. Shows that men and women experience emotion in similar ways. So men and women experience emotions the same way.
Right.
Well, there's no difference in the way that we handle our emotions. Oh, well, there is a difference in the way we handle it, but there's no difference in the way we experience it. That same emotion is alive and well in both of us. Social expectations, however, can push people to change how they express their feelings. See, social expectations expects me as a guy not to express my feelings. And that's valid to some point. But going beyond the point, then I need to express my feelings. I need to tell people when you've hurt my feelings. I need to tell people when I allowed that to make me angry. I need to let people know some of those things. So research shows that women and men experience that emotion in similar ways. Social expectations can make us express it differently. It can be challenging to ignore these expectations and risk being authentic. It can be challenging. You know, the social expectation is that as a guy, I stay stoic in the midst of danger and all of that kind of stuff. No. No. Most of you, some of you may have been, but most of you weren't here. I know Mark was here. I know Cynthia was here when we had that guy that really went off the deep end, and he came in there screaming and yelling and slamming stuff and running into people. I actually got damaged in that because he ran against me and I knocked my knuckle up against something and got hurt doing all of that crazy mess. But you know, is that a frightening situation?
Of course. Yeah.
It can be, yeah. We can be a little scared of things, and that's normal and it's natural. It brings out that fight or flight thing, you know, so that you can stand and fight or get ready to run. I'm going to guarantee you that popped up in me. And immediately, boom. And I'm looking around. The first thing I'm thinking about, I stuck my chest out as far as it could go. I stood on my tiptoes. And I said, where in the flip is Mark? We need to get Mark in here. Come on, boy. and he came out of the back, and then Q came out, and I felt a whole lot braver, when Mark came up, Q came up, they're both, well, all right then, let's get this here done. But yeah, I had this caution thing came up in me because I want to tell you, he was not, the guy that was doing all of that, he was not a small guy. He was one rock hard muscle, man. He was solid. So, I'm thinking, where on him can Mark grab him? Because I don't want to grab him. Yeah, but it does. It does come up. The research shows that we're doing it the same way, but it's challenging to ignore those expectations and risk being authentic. I don't care what people think. This is how I feel. And society says I ought to do what? I don't care. Once I get shot and killed, society's going to go on. They're going to say, well, look, he did exactly what he's supposed to do. Ain't he something? Yeah, we're going to all go to his memorial. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. You're about to do that anyway?
Yeah, about to do that. Oh, yeah. Man. So, this is another myth. Other people. This is something, look, I've seen this happen. I have to deal with this for people all the time. Other people control how I feel. This is part of that domestic abuse thing. Other people should not control how you feel. That's when y'all ever talked about family life and stuff like that. What's the dysfunctional family? Who is the victim? Who's the victim in the dysfunctional family? The children. Anybody else got another idea? He said in a dysfunctional family, the children are the victims.
Right.
The wife is the victim. Who? Everybody's a victim at some level. Yeah, but the primary victim in a dysfunctional family is the alcoholic or the addict.
Right.
They're the victim. They're the one who have the disease.
Right.
They're the one that's got the disease. They're the victim and all of that kind of stuff. However, when that person walks into the room, usually, and my dad was an alcoholic, but when he walked into the room, our whole mood changed. We could be happy and having a good time and playing a game or whatever it was, but when Dad walked into the room, the whole mood changed because we did not know what was going to happen. And we could not, before he got there, we could not anticipate what he was going to do when he came in. If he was sober, things would be great, because he was a real nice guy when he was sober. But when he got drunk, he was anything but. Yeah, and so when he came into the room, there was this radar scope trying to figure out whether or not he was using or not using. Because if he was using, we were all in a world of hurt. Yeah. We were going to try to find a place to hide if he was using. So, people ought not be able to change your mood. And that's what was happening with that old boy I was telling you about. When I showed up, it changed his mood. And so this is why you don't want to be angry with other people, because that gives them power over you. Complete power over you. Because if you're angry with somebody and they come into the room and you're feeling fine and everything's happy and everything's okay, when that person comes into the room, your mood changes and you become angry. So it's not a good thing. So other people will control how I feel. What others do can affect how we feel. But no one can make us feel a certain way. Yes, sir?
I agree with you on that. Cause,
I'm so glad. That makes me happy.
I relate that to when I put in, it's not a POC, but it immediately gives me a psychosis to where I'm in fear of my own mind, and I'm in fear of everything around me. It has so much power and control over me, it's unbearable at times. this time it became so unbearable that I became suicidal. So like,
Kind of makes you wonder why on earth you'd want to do that.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So here, what others do can affect how we feel, but no one can make us feel a certain way. This is why when I have my anger group and I talk to those guys and they tell me, well, she made me angry. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. He made me angry. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. You made yourself angry. You decided, you chose to get angry. Because nobody can make you angry. They can't make you angry. It's the same way. Look, I know this is a little harder to grasp, but nobody can make you fearful either. You have to choose to get fearful. You have to choose to be afraid of that person. So, I've seen things, I've seen guys going off, and I've seen one guy hiding in the corner because he's scared of that guy. I've seen another guy looking at him and laughing, because he ain't scared of him all. And there's just different demeanor there, different type of person, different type of thinking processes. So we have to take responsibility for what we feel, for how we respond to things, and the consequences of that response. If I'm going to get angry with somebody and I'm going to do something stupid and I'm going to, throw rocks at them or something like that, I have to take responsibility for my actions, right?
Right.
All right, so those are some myths that we need to understand. Now, I want us to look at one thing real quickly on this, and then maybe tomorrow we're going to look at the arrow there a little bit. But I want to look at the ICs. What do you think the ICs are about? These are things that get us in trouble a lot of the time. We are always dealing with what? Stuff. There's always going to be stuff in your life and in my life that we're going to deal with. We're going to deal with stuff all of the time. And some of that stuff I can do something about. Right? I can do something about it. So in this little circle here, that's my I can circle. These are the things that I can deal with. What can I deal with? What? The way I respond to things. I can deal with my
Emotions.
I am sorry. So we are on break. We're actually done for the day.
Yay! Be good. Have a good one. I'm good at that. I'm trying to see you. I'll take the place for me.
That means you guys don't still.
That means we're good.
Yeah, someone else permit the diarrhea.
Yeah, sometimes it hurts.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. I got you.
I'm not sure.
It was gravity, that's all I know. Physics.